flexibility, that show could do way better. But I don't.
Oh boy.
Man, I'm excited for this one, fellas. Let's all lock in, shall we?
Lock in, please.
What is, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets Podcast.
Let's go.
Playoffs. Man, we got a lot to get to.
Play in.
No.
Playoffs.
Man, we have a great show. We have a lot to get to. I thought today's presser, or media availability with Josh Kroenke, was fascinating.
I know.
Absolutely fascinating. I am so excited to break down the details of that. And I haven't even talked to these two gentlemen at all today, so I have no idea what they are thinking. We are presented by Bet365. Use the promo code DNVR365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You are joining us today from the Toyota Lounge, driven by our Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. Vogt, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. That was a very smooth intro, by the way.
Was it?
That was really good. Have you been doing? Have you done this before?
Man, this is one of my
We're gonna get into it deeper, but I want to say real quick, the pressers, it makes our jobs easier, but it's best for you, the fans. That's what it's for. So I appreciated the transparency, and I'm excited that after we have this great discussion, we'll all get to turn the page to a season that is not over.
100% true. 100% true, man. And there's so much to get to on this that both pertains to this year and beyond. That's why it's so exciting. D-Line goes in the building.
Point of fact, I'm a bit of a fact Nick, Season is over. Season's over.
Hey, it's true.
Just a point of fact. Listen, I like accuracy. You're a little willy-nilly with the way you go about your business, but I like things to be understood and correct.
Technically, he's correct. He said season's not over. He could have meant the postseason.
That's not the season. That's the new season.
Our calendars are very precious to us on
We had
the
the preseason.
That's true.
The in-season.
Yeah.
The dog days.
Yeah.
Listen.
The dog days are the season, to be honest with you. We went over this. There's 2 days in the season that are not dog days. But no, the big story today, we're going to get into the show today is going to be about the press conference in the first 2 segments because there's enough meat on the bone there. After that, we're going to talk about where have the Nuggets actually improved? What is actually different about them and what are the unanswered questions about them? We'll get more into the series with the Clippers. We got 5 shows to do to preview for that, so we got plenty of time. Today will be because Josh Kroenke spoke. We'll get into that. And my first note here, I was worried Josh Kroenke was not going to speak. The Sacramento Kings?
Yep.
No balls. What was it? What is it?
No class, no balls.
No class, no balls.
No beam.
They fired their coach in the dead of the night.
So stupid.
And did not meet the media. They rolled out Doug Christie to answer questions for the ownership. And he got peppered for a week with questions about why the move was made. And he's like, I don't know. Ask the owners. And the owners were like, no thanks, don't ask us. I was worried we were trending in that direction when Josh Kroenke went and had a quick, very brief sit down with Altitude's Vic Lombardi. I was worried he was going to do the same thing, but that was not the case. We got the update that he would give a press conference. He sat and he took questions for, 30 minutes, spoke into great detail. And that's the first note is I'm glad because it was an unspoken thing. I wanted to give it time, but that would have been a really bad look.
I definitely agree. Yes, as you mentioned, I am, of the 3 of us, the most uninitiated with what exactly was said, what it all went down today. But I do think that there's something really important about just taking people really in sports want people to take accountability. It's the number one thing. You got to hold them accountable. And I understand where that comes from. It's just basically listen, if we're putting our faith in your organization, if we are going to spend our actual dollars, our emotional well-being, if we're going to put our faith into what you're doing, we need to know that this is being done in good faith and that the things that you're doing are actually done with regard to the overall success for the team. And you have to be transparent. You have to let people know. Otherwise, you're just left to your own devices to sort of project onto whatever conflict you see, probably your own things going on in your life. You can get angry about things that maybe don't deserve to be gotten angry about. So I think and I've never seen, it's funny because there's 8 Josh Kroenkes. It depends on which team you come to him through. If you are
so
Rapids Josh Kroenke, you're an absolute villain. People can't stand you.
There's quote tweets today, by the way, on DNVR Nuggets.
Yeah, such a great point.
But it's the Nuggets Josh Kroenke is very accountable. He always comes in and answers questions. He always will come in and be he came in here to talk about the Comcast thing. It's just whether or not you liked his answers. The point being is you see his face and you can be like, all right, well, it's not just like this invisible hand. There's like a guy.
Well, there is a silent Stan right at the top of this, and that's why they call him Silent Stan. He never speaks. Nobody knows what he's thinking or doing. So
what he sounds like.
Or what he even sounds like. Literally his voice. I'm like, I don't know if I've ever heard it.
Is he? He's real, right?
He is real. He is real. He's very real. But no, I agree with you. The one thing I will say though, and I deeply appreciated him bringing the Larry O.B. Larry O.B. on the DNVR set is like the coolest thing ever. That was the easiest moment to come on the show. They just won a championship.
That's a good point.
Sure. And Josh, I do think it's almost like we hear from him once a year. Once a year, he does some kind of media thing, and I appreciate that. That might be the right cadence, maybe a little bit more, but again, I'm not going to complain on a day when he went out there and answered the questions.
Well, I think one of the hope is it kind of helps the fan base maybe get a little closure in it. And sort of because there is a turning of the page to be done here. And the other thing is, regardless of how you feel about either decision, this is a decision that requires some explaining.
Yeah. Yes. Totally.
Very, as he pointed out with a laugh, tied for the latest into the regular season, Eric, that a head coach has been fired. And this is a team that still believes they have championship hopes. So that anytime you make that decision, you have to explain it, whether you get it right or not. And so from that standpoint, yes, you do appreciate him coming out and talking because A, it makes our jobs easier, but B, more importantly, I think it helps the fans there's a lot out in the air. Maybe you're not going to believe everything he says, but he addressed a lot. And I think it helps in the closure aspect.
If we summarize what he had to say today, in my opinion, he was trying to frame the firings as a course correction. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, a course correction that happened for a mistake that he has learned from. Whether you buy that or not, future will tell. But he is laying this out as the Nuggets built a culture under Michael Malone and really in Michael Malone's image. Yep. In 2015, they built a new culture. Jokic played a part of it. Tim Conley, a lot of people played a part in it. But that standard had slipped over time.
Right.
And part of why that standard had slipped, why the culture that they had built was not permanent in maybe the ways he thought it was. Like, okay, we built this thing and now I just get to walk away because it's there. And that is really what the theme of it is about. So number one, accountability and culture protection to me was the number one storyline. And I'm going to share a couple things. He says, first of all, of Calvin Booth and Michael Malone, neither of them deserved it. And for that, I apologize. I needed to be better at different points in time. So here's why this is important, because people will say, well, if it wasn't their fault, why did they get fired? I think what he means by this is they both were good guys who were good for the job. But the situation evolved in a way that unfortunately put them to where they no longer were the right tool. They were the right tool for a healthy culture and the wrong tool and perhaps the catalyst for a culture that's falling apart. And I think he's looking back at this and thinking to himself, it didn't have to happen. There's an alternate universe where those two guys go on to win together, and maybe he feels like he could have saved it. And if he can go in a time machine back 2 years, he might be able to do things differently that would have saved both of them.
One of the reasons why I really liked that aspect of the quote is when everything was cooking, the Kroenkes got credit. We talked about organizational alignment and how it starts at the top.
Yep, great point.
We would do it. Malone would do it. Tim Connolly would do it. Calvin Booth would do it. And when there's no longer alignment, I think that's, the accountability thing, like, I know the hold them accountable thing is funny. To me, it's more, I appreciate when competitors hold themselves accountable.
Definitely.
And so it's not that it, absolves any party of their blame. It's a guy saying, I had a hand in this too. And I also think that quote in print, neither of them deserved it. And for that, I apologize. Some people got, I think, confused about that when they didn't see the whole presser. And to Adam's point, I think he was just trying to articulate too, the difference between what these two men deserved and what needed to be done. Yep. And that those two things had diverged. And he took some accountability in that as well. So that I did appreciate.
Yeah, I interpreted it as neither of them deserved to go out in such a shameful manner. Like they went out in a way that they are like a trivia question, and it's like they were.
Who was the latest coach ever fired?
It's like, and it sucks because Coach Malone, like especially, it felt, and I was saying this right off the bat, it just feels extremely disrespectful to what it is he's been, what it is he's brought, what it is he's created. All of that, moving on from him is one thing, but this was insult and injury. in my opinion. So I didn't really appreciate that, but I think that is what he was saying. I think I also, and this is just understand, like I am speaking completely from my brain. So I'm not, so you guys can correct me, whatever. But like, I just got the sense that he felt like he maybe sided with one guy or another when there were top level issues, and maybe emboldened one side and disempowered another side, and sort of maybe got them to a place where they were off kilter, didn't quite know what to do, who even to ask, didn't really feel like either was in control of the team. So they started to maybe control things that they could directly control, things like trades and things they ultimately have to get sign off from the top, from my understanding, if it's big enough, or maybe for all of them. And I got the sense that he sort of he was involved in that and then not involved in the rest. And so I imagine he probably feels some sort of like, he's probably a little disappointed in himself for the environment he created through that. Here's
the thing. Let me even make it more clear. Josh really started in I think 2009 or 10, somewhere around then is when he was coming into the family business, right? He's old enough to be here. And 2013 represented a pivot point where he was making a big move. Messiah's out, Brian Shaw's in, Tim Conley's in. And then again in 2015, Michael Malone is in. And I think in that process, he learned a lot, and he really did build a good culture. Josh Kroenke did. I think that he helped establish what we credit Michael Malone and Tim Conley for doing. He was a part of that culture building in a way that I think was actually healthy, meaning set ideals and got out the way and was like, can you guys execute this and make sure it was on the tracks? I think one of the things he's confessing is he joked about how Tuesday, the firing day, Arsenal had this huge game. They win. It was an emotional high, and he's involved in that. And he has to swing all the way over to here. Josh Kroenke and Stan Kroenke are managing more than any other owner in all of sports.
For sure.
They have more on their plate, and you could argue too much on their plate.
You most assuredly
could. And I think what he is saying is, I had all these things going. I might have taken for granted the idea that we had something that didn't need fostered anymore.
Yep.
And as these things deteriorated, it's like, but we got a culture, like we'll handle that.
Yeah.
And the truth was, no, the culture was disintegrating. And I think that is really what he's talking about. And to be honest with you, it has been my number one critique.
Yeah.
Like I have critiques for Malone, I have critiques for Booth, but I have been saying I think the Kroenkes need to probably learn from this, because if they're going to be this divided in their attention, they need to make sure that they are fostering the culture. And he even has this quote, what I love: I need people that are policing the culture and pushing it forward for me on a daily basis.
Yeah, that was my
culture
favorite.
Cop. Hey, we don't wear that. Culture cop.
That was my favorite quote of the day. I thought it showed that he understands his responsibility in culture and in setting it, but that there's a balance to it too. Like they got something right X amount of years ago in putting a couple people in charge, trusting them, giving them room to work and patience. And I think that it's like what they're learning is there's a balance.
Yeah.
That you can't just leave it unwatered and walk away, right? So he is going to have divided attention. To some extent, that is also a good thing, right? You don't want your owners going full Matt Ishbia either. But I think what he recognized is he needs to be aware of this. He has to have a hand in it. He also can't play babysitter. And I think it got to a point maybe where, so that's what I need, people that are policing the culture and pushing it forward for me on a daily basis, even when I'm not there.
Right.
Even when I don't have a say in XYZ.
And this is the thing for me is that we know this too. And just in general, in all human occupations and organizations, like the top can mess everything up.
Yep.
Just by being by not thinking, by being flippant, by just not really considering the micro and only looking at the macro. And I just feel like for him specifically, more often than not, he should not pay attention. Like I'm sure that Joe Sakic and
there's a balance.
GM for the Avalanche, I can't remember his name right now, my apologies, do not need policing. They do not need, but that is that's different. Like what happened in this specific instance is that he removed the originator of the culture left in Tim Connolly. And then he put in place a guy that was Tim Connolly's predator. I mean, he worked alongside with him, so it's not unthinkable to believe that culture would continue. But he didn't make sure that those two guys that remain, Calvin Booth and Michael Malone, were on the same page. And I guarantee things came up where it was like, well, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. And then like they're having back channel conversations and they're kind of talking around each other. And it's like both are trying to fill that culture void that came naturally before. And it's like, you don't want culture police. That's like a weird way to think about it. But you want people that are interested in and have the same vision for building the culture. That's if you do that, like it is set and forget.
Except for, again, that's what you're focused on at all times. It's like everyone can only focus their attention on so much, and the owner needs to set on those things, these broad picture things.
Yeah.
And you notice when those broad things are moving, and then it goes down from there. The coaches, where does he play into that? He's focused on this, and the assistant coach is even more narrow than that. And it's just like this Russian nesting doll. But to your point, the granularity of the culture policing cannot be his job, but the broad, are we on track to be the thing that I think we need to be to win in Denver and to be this? Is it moving?
Just like throw him a pizza party, you know what I mean?
It's what he has.
Booth and Malone like come together. They have an ice cream sundae, a pizza party. It's on Josh Kroenke. He gives them a $25,
and then you cut it into real tiny slices because you don't want to buy too many.
Hire an external PR firm; they'll send you some cookies.
All right, we got to take a break though. I want to keep this going. Lots more to get to on the other side.
I don't know if you guys have heard this before. News to me: the cells in our bodies are the building blocks of life.
Yeah.
You know, he knows.
You
all
know
about
that the
this.
mitochondria is actually the powerhouse of the cell.
Yeah.
I had heard that. The order of the words had lost me, but I knew that existed somewhere. Timeline is a supplement that works with those cells to help give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. I am turning 32 in May, which is not, look, I know I'm still a young man, but let's not kid ourselves, fellas.
I want to choke you out while hearing
I'm starting to age a little bit, so I'm very interested in this timeline here. Their patented ingredient is MitoPure, a postbiotic nutrient that clears out dysfunctional mitochondria, Eric. MitoPure is shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength, endurance, without a change in exercise. That's a win. Right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/DNVR today to get started. That's timeline.com/DNVR.
They gave us samples. I've been taking it. And I challenge you officially, Brendan Vogt, to an arm wrestle every day to see how I'm progressing.
I'll bet you're good at arm wrestling.
Dude, I'm like a bit of a bear. You know what I mean? But just without all the other meaning behind it.
Not the way only the way I meant it, not the way you were thinking about it. I also want to tell you guys about Empire Today. Today is the day I want to tell you about Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. If you didn't know by now, you should. They've been advertising my whole darn life. Empire Today is the best place to go to get new flooring. Can't beat them on quality, service, and speed. Their philosophy is about helping you find what you need and not get overwhelmed with the thousands of choices. That's where the virtual floor designer comes into play. You can take a look, get an idea of how it looks in your home with your furniture without any commitment. So do yourself a favor. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details.
Let's go.
One thing real quick just to address, because this conversation requires a certain foundation. Anytime we talk about the owners, because there are a lot of people that just hate billionaires in a point. There's not going to be a school teacher that owns the Nuggets. You know what I mean? Like, there's not going to be a charity work. It's going to be a billionaire that owns every sports team from here and forever.
I actually heard this over the weekend. Did you know this? It's a business, Adam.
It is a business. And so, in my opinion, you have to evaluate these things there. First of all, I'm not one of these people that shares that opinion, but I know a lot of people have it, and it's just like, oh, why are you carrying the water for this guy, this guy? I'm going to judge him based on the role he occupies, which is billionaire owner of a team. Like, I have to only go there. There are ways the Kroenkes, to me, have upended the bargain that is the unspoken bargain of owning a team within a city. I think there's an obligation, a huge one, that you owe to the people, as you were referencing earlier. And there's many ways where they have not upended their end of the bargain. So to me, I will judge them based on that. But this idea of like, oh, what are we going to... He is explaining his vision for how he wants to run this team, and I just find it very fascinating. Number 2 point, he hesitated. he'd known this for a while, but he hesitated. And there was something insightful here. He said there were two moments that he identified when I hesitated. One was last fall around Thanksgiving, which is very interesting because it shows you that this goes back in time quite a bit. Team stabilized. And then the other was right before the All-Star break, which matches the reporting out of The Athletic, which was that they wanted to make this move at the All-Star break, but the Nuggets went on a big win streak. And how do you do that? And he even said, would it have been crazier if I made this decision during an 8-game win streak? First of all, can we just answer that rhetorical? I think yes, it would have.
Oh, it'd be what? You would be like
the 2 seed out on an 8-game win streak.
We would have started an investigative series, like being like, "What in God's name? What do you mean?" Like we would have gotten Candace Owens involved. I mean, like that would have been insane. Like,
what about if it would have happened last Thanksgiving, right out of a championship 2 months into the new season?
I think the narrative most certainly would have been: was this really enough time to give that group? They won a title.
Totally.
They almost made it back to the Western Conference Finals, which, by the way, no one's doing anymore the year after winning a title. And then you move on. Yeah. It would feel like maybe even a bigger jolt. To be clear, the decision he settled on, also a jolt. But I think that's kind of his point. What's the right time to make this choice if you feel like it's a tough choice that has to be made?
And so I just sympathize with that part of it because I do think as you walk back, I think that the Nuggets organization has had questions about their leadership for a long time. But to your point, they're defending champions in 2024. They had a slow start, but then they bounced back, won 57 games. They could have won a title last year. They wrote it out. This year, I do wonder if I just kind of saw this thing coming. And so I do understand when he says he hesitated. But he also, I think, knew that there's personal relationships involved here, which I think is important because
it is.
Josh Kroenke is talking about how much. First of all, he walked into the locker room after the Indiana loss, and he's like, "Then I just knew it was like this is over. It's dead. There's no pulse left."
By the way, same.
You actually said that on the show as much.
And then I went home. I was like, I hope that wasn't too dramatic.
It's always nice when you're like, man, that really felt dead.
I think I was right. Yeah.
I was right on this one. But the personal relationship part here is interesting. And here's where Josh, I think, he took a lot of accountability and explained a lot what happened. He didn't necessarily tell us. And I could have probably even asked better questions. Like after you digest this, you're like, ooh, I had a new follow-up.
You could have held him accountable.
It could have held him a little more accountable. But the thing I wonder is how will you do this? Because what he is signaling is I need to be closer to the situation, but further emotionally removed. That's a paradox.
Yeah, it is a paradox. And it's funny though. I feel like there are not as many big lessons in this as it seems like
really
right now.
See, I think there are.
I just know that the big lesson to me is that you just have to make sure you put a good organization in place, and then I kind of think they do it right in general. Like I do really appreciate how they are hands-on, hands-off. I don't know how that relates, obviously, to the inner workings and what it means to be a GM, and if you end up feeling hamstrung. I don't know, but from my removed point of view, I think it's smart that they're not Jerry Jones, that they're not Ishbia, but like. Moreover, they just keep winning championships. Like you can't be too critical of the organization that has this level of success across different sports. But I do think that, I'm just like, I am also through hearing all of these things, like I'm really surprised how few people apparently were in Michael Malone's corner, like that he was viewed as this level of an issue. And, I actually applaud the organization for not making that abundantly clear to anyone that wasn't going in. I mean, you have been on this. Adam has been talking about this for a while. I personally, having no connection to it, I can only take it at face value, what you were talking about. But this was the reason that you were looking at this season through, a more, I don't know, skeptical lens, because you knew cynical, because there are organizational issues that make themselves very clear to you. But the rest of it, like, I think it's good that like it wasn't obvious the whole time that this was going on, and that it was a huge shock to people, and they were kind of just going through, because at the end of the day, it really, in my mind, is about the players. It's about Nikola Jokic. It's about Jamal Murray. It's about fostering an environment for those guys to thrive. They're the ones that are actually accountable. They're the ones that are making everything happen, regardless of the organization that's around them. At the end of the day, like, I just think it's smart. Like the lesson has to be, you cannot have two parts that are not on the same page. You cannot force it. You have to make sure, like, if you're going to hire a GM and you have a coach in place that you like he's part of that conversation. Like that's not like a thing you do this, now figure it out. It's like, you have to be on the same page if you're going to be hands off.
Yeah. I think this is like I said, the Kroenkes have strengths and weaknesses, and I think the right level of involvement, I don't know if they struck it over the last 2 years, but I do agree that their broad philosophy of to not be necessarily too involved is an important one. Although I do think they're kind of involved on the basketball side.
I think it's a bit more like we lost it.
Yeah.
We were involved in it. We had it. We knew what it looked like. We knew what it was supposed to look like.
We were on the mountaintop.
And we lost it.
Yeah.
And hand up in the we part from the Josh perspective.
Yeah,
So I think
right.
that's really what, if he could have delivered a message, that was the one he really wanted to deliver, I thought, today.
And he could have gone out there with a different angle on all of this. They let me down. I put these guys in place and they let me down. Or very defensive of like, we're just winning we're trying to win championships here. So, but he didn't. He honestly went up there and basically said, my fault, my bad, which he did easily, from a PR standpoint, easily could have done a different play. And I'm acknowledging that. Let's get into the next parts, though, because there's more here. This part is where we can get into the criticisms of the Kroenkes. Asked about what kind of front office and coach are they looking, and this was the first thing he says. We have to find value where others may not. We have to be open-minded on all fronts. We'll go through a search for the end of the year. We're not going to greenlight. I do like this part. We're not going to greenlight anything unless there's full organizational cohesion. So again, alignment.
Yeah.
They're in a period of trying to realign themselves before doing anything big. We talked about how we set a standard, we built a culture, we need to protect it. And then he said that we've had 3 straight first-time GMs. I need to be open-minded about what's next. So he contrasts this with, I don't know if we can go with rookies going forward, rookie head coach, rookie front office. But at the same time, Vogt, value to me signals what they really mean here. We don't spend money on these margins. And going forward, it's not about we're going to spend big to get this or that. We have to get value because we're in the value game. Double-edged sword. He's right. They did not protect the value of their own assets over the last 2 years. But at the same time, it doesn't exactly sound like they're going to go out and go into the super tax.
Yeah, I guess first part of that, I did like the open-minded part in terms of his acknowledgement of we've sort of gone back to the well with this strategy 3 times in a row. That was a specific point we criticized on the show, or at least I did, that I just felt like it was, you got it done with Masai. Let's try it again with Tim.
We're 2 out of 3.
Oh, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
By the way, they Tab Booth did win a title.
I was actually say you could argue it worked 3 out of 3.
Obviously, it didn't work out in the long run, but there literally was a championship. So there's a little bit of like, yeah, we got this. We know how this works. And I appreciate maybe we need to reevaluate just sort of how we look at it. Anytime ownership starts talking about value a bunch, I do get wary and worried.
It's a buzzword that
buzzword.
Literally means getting more for less.
And I don't like, because here's where it's really easy to be like, you got this wrong. I don't know how to identify what the next move is, right? Because I think they need to spend money. I absolutely do. But I don't think it's just throw a boatload at David Griffin and Doc Rivers, right?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So there is a balance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't like hearing
Yeah,
value.
Ishbia is not concerned with value. He's on his 3rd coach that's given a 5-year deal and since he arrived a year and a half ago.
But I understand too that it's this is an organization that typically doesn't spend a lot on their coaching staff, typically doesn't spend a lot on their front office. They have gone into the tax for and max for some players, which is awesome.
They believe in spending on players, and I even think they believe in spending on a head coach. They don't necessarily believe in spending on the assistants,
right?
Or the training facilities, or the margins.
Right, the other things that I think those are the very, very fair criticism of the Kroenkes that I think fans are still feeling right now.
Definitely.
But I did like, Eric, the sort of, let's re-examine how we're going about this because maybe we don't know all the answers.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, value's a rough word. It's a rough one. I don't love that. But I have to say, like, just in general, like, I actually appreciate Josh Kroenke quite a bit for who he is and how he handles things, how he handles himself. He could be an absolute monster. I mean, he was really given the keys to the world with his upbringing and the way he was brought in. It's not like he was hired to be this person that he's been. He just was born into it. But like that could make you Jeannie Buss. That could make you. You could be the Rooneys, which own the Steelers. You could be, the unfortunately. When the Broncos owner died.
Bolin.
You could be the insane
I want to
Bolins.
talk about that's so true.
Josh Kroenke is not perfect, but like I know Josh Kroenke cares about the outcome of basketball.
Yeah.
Like we're all aligned in that.
Yeah.
Like it's not, he doesn't look at this strictly as a tax write-off. Or, like he legitimately wants to make this happen, and he wants to play the game. I mean, it's a game, right? It's his business, but he's playing a game. He's invested. It's something he's really interested in. It's just like, again, like all I hope is that he takes the lesson of like, all right, and maybe this was already a hand to it. It's like, all right, you get rid of one, you got to get rid of both. Like you got to bring the GM in that brings his coach in, and those two have to. You can't do it any other way if you're going to try to create, or in this case, maintain a culture when you have two sides. And that's why I actually am leery of them bringing in a big name coach, or a big name GM, somebody that already has comes in with the baggage of their this is how we do it. Like, don't tell me, kid. I've been around,
Yeah.
So there's actually something nice about bringing in competent, smart people that share each other's vision and kind of want to grow it together versus just like bringing in an institutional hire. It's a crazy situation, but he's gotten 3 excellent GMs in a row. I mean, say what you will about Calvin Booth. I imagine that's the one people will argue with, but that was like the one that he didn't go out to hire in the same way.
Yeah. Again, he's just explaining where his values are, and value is one of those values.
Yeah.
It is that, hey, he is not signaling this is a problem we have to throw money at. It's a problem we have to be more strategic at.
Yeah.
I think you might need both, but he is hinting at that their way is this way. All right, let's take another break. On the other side, more about Jokic, his legacy, and his role going forward.
How about a better context for the word value, guys? You want to talk about value?
Oh yeah.
Well, now when it's my money, I want value.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
it's the Kroenke's money, I don't
know.
care about
Forget
value.
value.
What's wrong with you?
When it comes to your money, you want value. When it comes to your vehicle, you want value. You may want a variety of different things. I know there are a lot of different Coloradans out there. I've heard there are a lot of transplants, pesky transplants, but also a lot of you great Colorado natives that are outdoors people. You get out to the mountains. Maybe you want that 4-wheel drive. Maybe you need a truck.
I'm an outdoors.
Maybe you're looking for a balance for the smooth city rides. Maybe you're looking for a low or zero emission vehicle. Toyota has what you need no matter what type of Coloradan you are, so do yourself a favor. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. There's Auto Nation Toyota Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of the Denver Nuggets and the official vehicle of DNVR. That's us. Let's go places.
Let's go.
And let's see. I know there's one more read left, Kale. Who is it? Oh, it's our buddies at Red Hawk Roofing. I didn't forget. I could never forget. Denver's best roofers have joined the DNVR team. That's actually old news now. So is the fact that they're Denver's best roofers. You probably see them all over the city at this point. Our guys are blowing up, and thanks to a lot of you who have tried their services and can attest that they are indeed the best roofers in town. Go with the pros. Make checking your roof a part of your spring cleaning routine and catch any issues or repairs before they get out of hand. There's no project too small for our guys at Red Hawk. They're your go-to for everything from minor repairs to full roof replacement on your home or business. Supporting your local teams means also supporting local businesses like Red Hawk Roofing. If you're looking for a new roof over your home or business, be sure to check out Red Hawk Roofing at redhawkroofing.com or call 720-771-8921. Tell them DNVR sent you.
Sometimes when I'm feeling down, I'll just drive around town and just try and imagine some roofs and whether or not Red Hawk Roofing did them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good roof. Yeah.
That looks like a good. I bet Red Hawk.
I bet they did it, man.
Perks me up every time.
You know what I do is when I see a bad roof, I just knock on their front door.
You tell them.
You just go.
Segment 3 here, guys. He did talk about Jokic's role in this, and I prodded it on him twice because I felt like he kind of skirted around the issue of how much do you ask Jokic, how involved should Jokic be in the decision making. he didn't answer that head on in a way that I kind of hoped. He would more be like, I will consult him. Or, you almost want him to say that. He would not. What he said was, I'd be the dumbest guy in basketball if I wasn't asking him for his opinion. But he followed it up by saying, it's my responsibility to make the decisions. And I actually think he is showing wisdom in this. It would be unfair. I mean, people have pointed out Yoke's coaching more. Oh, it's unfair. Now you're asking him to coach too. I don't think Adelman's asking him to coach. He is allowing his input.
He's allowing him to
He's
lead.
like, Jokic, please, I don't know
what to do right now.
It's like that sketch from I
real
Think You
quick,
Should Leave.
by the way, because I didn't get to do the hit with you guys that night, Jokic was asked about the whiteboard. He goes, I didn't draw up a play. He's like, I drew up a situation. And we talked. I did that all the time.
They were
He said
talking spacing.
Yeah. And he goes, and I've done
Spacing
that
on the
before.
block.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, I
It was
digress.
like, Mike, this is the corner, not over here. This is the corner. You see how there's a corner
So
on
2
the
feet
board?
inbounds, but then behind this line, so it counts for
But like
3.
Jokic knocks on it. He's like, can you come meet me in my office? He knocks on the door. Oh, David Adelman's just crying. He's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I need you to help me.
I think that's the right approach, to be honest with you. I think Josh Kroenke needs to know what Jokic thinks or feels.
Of course.
And that needs to be part of his filtering, but it would be unfair to ask him to make those decisions. He's not LeBron James. He's not a guy that you go to and is like, hey, man, it's your team. You call every shot. And that's unfair.
He's like, are we drafting your son? Or what's up?
And he obviously said all of the hits. You owe it. He's such a great person and a great player that you owe it to him. All the things you want to hear. I will tell you this little piece of info. I have heard, because every day I'm around the building, you're asking different people. Every corner of the org, you just try to ask, hey, what's your intake? What's your take? One thing I've heard, Yoke in particular fired up right now. I've heard, and we're going to talk about this in a bit. The belief inside the building is as strong as it's been at any point this year, probably stronger. The enthusiasm is there. And I think Jokic in particular, I am told anecdotally that he seems to have a little pep in his step, a little gleam in his eye. And I'm not saying it's because of the fire or this or that, but because he can sense the team finally
coming together
in a way that they had it. And so there's this excitement, I think, with Yoke specifically.
Would you say he's awakened?
I think he might be awakened.
Hell yes. I've been waiting for this. Come on, man. Like, Jokic fired up, Jokic feeling the burn, everybody else. I swear, can you imagine playing on a team with Nikola Jokic and he's like, let's go. And you're like, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's like, I can't imagine a way to get more fired up than when the greatest player you've ever imagined is super fired up and he's looking to you to go out to war with him.
And that's exactly the picture that was painted of me was the group is galvanized as a whole, but seeing Jokic especially bought in and just kind of reanimated has given everybody some wind.
Yeah, you can see it on the floor, and I think you can see it in a specific way, and it's important. It's not 60, 10, and 10, which, by the way, I will take any day of the week.
I know.
But it's like, yeah, you guys got this.
Yeah.
We got this. Nice rotation, man. Okay, no, that wasn't good. Let's talk about this. I think if these guys are going to have any sense of belief, I can't imagine a more galvanizing thing than Jokic exuding a sense of belief.
No.
By the way, whether he feels one or not, that's a job as a leader to it's also not just about this year. It is about going forward. Whoever's on board here in the long run, I think it's okay, we're not just rolling over and letting any more happen. We're going to fight for this together. And I think that has to, if you're a role player, that's okay. Let's go play the Clippers. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 weeks ago, you're a little less sure.
One of the reasons it's just kind of my nature that I just enjoy nuance and and everything gets reduced to a package thing. And over time we'll be like, what happened to the Michael Malone? Cal got a bunch of young guys. He wouldn't play him, so he got fired. Yeah. It's reduced into this one line that we can digest. And I just know there's more layers to it. Another area I know there's more layers that he addressed. Michael Porter, there was a report that there were trades on the table that he axed. And he said in no uncertain terms, he denied it. In fact, he said, I would laugh at that if it wasn't so damning. If he wasn't so
serious.
Yeah, so serious. You're now accusing me of something that really pisses me off. I will say that I think there's a little truth on both sides of this equation here.
Sure.
And that I don't know what is true. I do believe, and I had heard that, in the signing of Michael Porter early on, that the Kroenkes were big advocates of that, big believers in him, and they saw the vision. And by the way, they were right on that too. They won a title in large part because of Michael Porter's involvement. But But the idea that there were trades, here's another thing I had heard lots of times. Michael Porter was not tradable until this summer at the earliest because of his medical. That even if a team was like, hey, we know 3 back surgeries will do it, you get into a trade and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, now that we've seen everything, I don't know.
You got to pass a physical.
So I don't think that he blocked. I never heard that he blocked a trade, but I do think that they have advocated for Michael Porter maybe when other members of the organization were less enthusiastic about it. So it's half truth, maybe?
I think they very clearly believe in Mike.
Yeah.
I think that's clear. Like, Josh is a Mike guy.
Yeah.
Just yet another thing Josh Kroenke and I
He's
have
Michael
in
Porter truther? Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second. This Josh Kroenke right now.
I think with Josh, you had that quote earlier about organizational cohesion and alignment. And I actually think he was talking about Mike, and he was saying, like, what I'm not going to do is greenlight a trade when everything looks like this.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And so I think if he squashed a trade, maybe he did, but he's at least saying now publicly that his reasoning for that was, this is not the time to make a choice like that.
Right.
I would make another choice before I make that choice.
Right.
And then he went on to make that choice instead. So,
and another one here that's on the same lines was he was asked about Russell Westbrook, because again, this was another reductive story that came out of this. I think Russell Westbrook is a difficult presence. He brings greatness and great things, and he brings some real challenges. But it got reduced to Russell Westbrook is the reason Michael Malone got fired, and he addressed this head on and was like, "Hey man, look, he's been nothing but great for us." Which again, I think a half truth. I think there's been a little good, a little bad, like most things. But he went out in front of it again and defended Mike. Defended, hey, no, he's here on his own merits. Defended Russell Westbrook and said, Westbrook brings us a lot of positive things, man. Like this idea that he's the reason for this. And I believe him in this part. I don't think Westbrook had anything to do with this firing.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this every time that I've heard that. It's like that. There's no way if this started last year and he was thinking about doing it during Thanksgiving that it was because of Russell Westbrook. That's just the latest example of the schism that existed that caused the culture to fray. Nobody's talking to each other. Cliques form. People talk behind each other's backs. I mean, like that's the thing about human beings is that every organization you've been a part of, that's how this runs too. Like you can imagine what that looks like at McDonald's.
Yeah, we get it all the time here though, where people are like, it's conspiracy theories because they only see what comes out,
right?
And then they're like, well, they're doing this because of this and this and this. And you're like, I have no idea how the 100 layers that came into that.
We did that because it was a mistake.
Joke's on you.
Which sometimes that is the answer. I was like,
we didn't read. Oops. Oh.
So anyway, that part of it, it was interesting. And then David Adelman in the coaching transition, he said DA knows this group. He knows the communication they need, which again, interesting. I think that he specified the communication they need.
Gotta talk,
He's more than ready. This is a veteran group. They know the standard. They know that we're about to walk into. We've had a lot of continuity on the staff, and they know what to do when it gets tough. I think DA has a real shot at this. A real shot.
He should.
I don't think that it's a for sure thing. But I also don't. There have been times Melvin Hunt took over when I first started covering this team, and I remember being like, he has no chance to be the next head coach.
I wanted him though,
because he went on a win streak and he was so nice. Melvin Hunt was the most like just a guy. Like he was such a guy. He was jolly. But no, I think David Adelman has a real chance at this gig, and that's kind of what I took away from that part of it.
The thing to remember with David Adelman is that he has been getting interviewed for head coaching jobs and was probably going to get one.
Right.
So this is not the same as, and no disrespect to this fellow. Who was the guy in Milwaukee that got the interim gig before they brought Doc Rivers in? Maybe this is a great example. I don't think hey, help us finish out the season. I don't think it was maybe you're next up.
Right.
David Adelman is going to get an offer at some point in his lifetime, and so this is an early audition. I think it's a tough audition, by the way.
Yeah.
Everything feels great right now because they just won 3 in a row. Welcome to the playoffs. It's Ty Lue, by the way. So it's a tough audition. Yeah. But
by the way, DA's kind of handled himself with grace because I think you're right that imagine the stress he's feeling right now. Probably not sleeping a lot, but he's handled it, I thought, very hey man, this is the challenge.
Yeah, there's no choice, right? So I think I think DA is a little different than the average interim coach in that specific way.
Yeah. And then the last thing I have here is on the pressure going into the playoffs. And he went right out in front of it again. And again, I think this is good leadership. He said, there is no pressure. My whole goal was to rip the Band-Aid off. He felt like this is why it happened with 3 games to go. Yes, maybe there's a shot in the arm. Maybe he didn't want a Western Conference Finals fake run. You luck up and make it there, and now the decision's harder. I do think those played into it. But I think it had more to do with the Band-Aid off. And when he says there's no pressure, part of me hears that and thinks they don't think they should win this year. They think they can. But it's not one of these things where it's like if they don't win at this moment, I think coming into the year they wanted to, but at this moment, it's probably like, hey man, we have what it takes. We'll see where the chips fall. And I think that's accurate. But he did say the main message to the group was about belief. The West is a bloodbath. The Clippers are the best team in basketball right now. He kind of acknowledged those things, but his messaging to the team has been about believe. It's a short runway, but why not? And I just think that's the right. Take the pressure off, but also remind them that there's no reason not to be in the running for the championship.
That's all you can hope for, especially like the way things have gone down, where the organization is, like all of the mess that has found the Denver Nuggets over this past week. The craziest part is that I don't really feel it anymore. Like the way that the Nuggets have responded, and part of it, again, is because they've gotten all of their players back, but they do have a strong enough foundation that you don't feel it in the actual games, which is really all that matters. Like I'm just as optimistic about these teams' chances as I have ever been this entire season, because they look good, man. They look good, and it doesn't matter who's in the front office this time of year, and it's not a completely foreign voice that's popping up and trying to tell them how we're doing this now going into the playoffs. This is a guy that's been with them this entire time. And Nikola Jokic has felt empowered enough to stand up and be the leader of men that he is.
Right.
It just actually, in some ways, I think is a much better situation. They're oddly in a much better situation, even though I respect what Michael Malone did for the team immensely and will never stop praising him for the job he did here in Denver, Colorado. It's just like clearly there were some emotional blocks involved that couldn't be resolved in time, and we're going to mess up any opportunity the Nuggets had to move forward. And so like it sucks, but like we have to think about the larger issue here, which is like the millions of people watching this, like everybody just counting on the Denver Nuggets to be worth their time and effort. And so in a lot of ways, like I do appreciate that Josh, albeit in my opinion very late and handled in a lot of ways incorrectly, was also handled correctly. Like he made the right decision, even though the timing in my view was off. But like I appreciate the ability to do that. Like it's sort of a fearless way to go into it. Like people in the chat are asking us to, like, we're being Josh defenders. Listen, man, like there is a thing about people do not like the concept of a billionaire, and I get it, because it's like it's another feeling in life of just something that is larger than you, that controls something you are interested in, and it feels nefarious at all times. And at the end of the day, they only care about themselves. Why would they ever care about you? But I think my largest point with all of it is that I don't see his actions in general. Like I pay attention to Josh Kroenke. Like I don't see him as a malevolent figure in life. I see him as somebody who, generally speaking, keeps his word and speaks his mind and doesn't feel like he's trying to get something over on everybody. I mean, he is very like reserved, and he's not like a complete open book, because in a lot of ways you can't be, because you just open yourself up to so much attack with his station in life. I appreciate the way that he's handled the Denver Nuggets. I know he likes the Nuggets, and I like the Nuggets, so I'm like fine with it.
You guys have something in common.
We have a mutual interest that we're working towards. Yeah. So,
and you both own a yacht, so it's like you guys have a lot in common.
No, I puked on a yacht.
I also just, for myself, to put a bow on it, like when you say I appreciate the accountability, what's implied is because they got something wrong. So I appreciate the accountability. It's not. And now you get a round of applause.
Right.
Like they made mistakes that brought them to this point.
And acknowledging the mistake doesn't mean you fixed it. It just means you now recognize it.
And I want to know that they recognize it. And I liked his quote. I just did the politician thing. I liked his quotes about wanting to be more present, specifically in times of transition. Like he's trying to learn a lesson from this. Now he has to go out and do it, right? Like expectations should be high here. That this should be a very desirable job, both the head coach job and the GM job. Yeah. So spend money on this organization. And I don't just mean, again, hire Doc Rivers.
He means DNVR.
Yeah.
But you know, be willing to do all these things, and he should be held to that standard. But like today there was either accountability or no accountability, and I was glad to hear the former.
Correct. And to your point earlier, real quick, you know, Stan is the owner. And
Yeah.
Josh is the president, and they are basically in some ways both the owner of this or that. I think they're actually wildly different. I think some of
They
the things you were
completely are.
talking about would pertain to Stan quite a bit. I think Stan is a very different person than Josh.
For sure.
And it's an interesting
He
dynamic.
is the invisible hand.
He is the invisible hand, and maybe a little bit more of the type of person you were hinting at before, like a little bit more emotionally removed from everything. So there is this weird dynamic. I'm sure it's even weird between the two of them. we'll never know the answer to this, but I wonder what their dynamic is.
I would love to run a professional sports team with my dad. We'd just be like, all, what?
I mean, it's probably a weird
like,
place to
that
be and
OC
thrown
Chopper
into
show.
an awesome life, it sounds like, but also
By the
one
way,
where,
whenever you make a tough choice together, you got this one, son.
yeah, it's like,
I know
oh man,
technically he's the
we
governor,
screwed this
yeah.
up. Why don't you go out there and tell
you
them
know,
He's
all?
like,
know.
oh, yeah. Hey, we just fired everyone's favorite coach in the history of the Nuggets. Hey, why don't you get out there and
Get out there and make
tell
it
about
sound good.
Real quick, let's take a quick little mini break to tell you about our Die Hard thing, and then we'll wrap up with some expiring notes.
Well, listen, we have another Die Hard sale going on. You may know, I don't know if you know this, we are a business. We're like the NBA. It's a business.
It is a business.
We love making content for the community. We love creating culture of the community. We want people to join this culture, to be part of this, to create something that's never existed before. We always talk about All City. We are the resistance. We are marching on the institutions, and we want diehards to be in our factions, to make this march with us and change the way that sports is talked about, change the way that sports is thought about, not just made, you know, like it's not turned into the E!! network when you're talking about ball. We want ball knowers here. And so if you're a ball knower, you should get on this sale. We have it. We slash it in half for your first time. It's $36. You get access to all of the wonderful writing that Brendan Vogt does.
Especially from this guy over here,
get
man.
wonderful writing from Harrison
pushing out
Wind.
banger after banger.
If you're interested in other sports
This is your
around
best year ever.
Yeah,
Thanks,
around-
Being on the show.
Thanks, guys.
around the Denver Nuggets, you get access to all of that. You get a free T-shirt for the first time that you sign up. If you do the math, a T-shirt by itself is more than $36. You're literally picking my pocket here. It hurts my feelings to even put this out there, but we would love for you to be a diehard, to be part of us, man. So check it out, give it some thought, and let's do this.
And this doesn't have to exist, like All City DNVR.
No,
It
it doesn't.
Have to. Like
No.
and it sometimes feels, you know, like
This is as
it's-
far away from an institution as there is.
Yeah, it is funny that we are the institution now, and it's like
This is not an institution.
we have duct tape everywhere, and
Yes.
the entire organization
This
is
is
just
this is still
constantly
a,
working our ass off. to
We're
make this
still a
thing-
startup, folks.
We're an institution. It's got a roof in our leak in our practice roof.
for real. I just wanted to wrap up by some things. What do the Nuggets actually stand to improve between now and as I referenced earlier, there's a real energy to the team right now and a real belief. Is it too late? Do those things wane the moment you get punched in the mouth in a playoff game? Probably. Belief probably only lasts until you lose a game, and then it's
Sure.
like, well, shit. So you know, it's tumultuous, but it's better than where they were before. When he says he walked into that locker room and it was flat, and he knew right then
It was done.
Fast forward 1 week later, and you've got Jokic galvanizing the team with belief and excitement, and players who are all like excited to be back in the building. It's huge, man. It's absolutely huge. And it pairs with accountability, which I think was also one of the catalysts for this. I think there was a lack of accountability in that building over the last 2 years, year and a half, 2 years.
Yes.
And I think it's back in a way that, again, I hope it sustains from the moment Denver gets punched in the mouth. And they will get punched in the mouth, whether by the Clippers or someone is going to hit them. But those two things to me were not there, and they are there now, and that cannot be overstated how important they are.
Malone had said it, but it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
They have to be able to tell each other that was your rotation. And it's not that was your rotation and you suck for missing it. That was your rotation. We have to be on a string.
Yeah.
And we've seen a little bit more of it. There was one DJ where it looks like he got into it with Mike, I think, the other night on the end of the bench. But I think he was just doing what's been asked of them. It's like, hey, Mike, I know you don't feel like that was your fault. It wasn't. Here's why.
Yeah, I mean, you hope you get past the part of where you're yelling at each other for stuff you didn't do, and it's just like,
It's a dialogue.
Well, you're just talking on the court in the first place.
Right. Great point.
That you can have conflicts that can just sort of set the direction correct again. Like, be like, oh, okay, I see that that's important to you, or oh, I can see how I'm letting you down, and then it's just like you make the change, and it's not like he's not like, hey, you should just scream at each other all the time. That's how we're gonna get this done. It's just like, we got to start talking, and talking sometimes can happen through something that's uncomfortable, and then it just kind of gets you to a place where you are on a level of understanding again. And I feel very good about what is being given to us from the team, the Denver Nuggets, albeit now 2 games altogether, but like those were great looking games. And you can talk about whether or not the other teams were super motivated. But I think that they were. I mean, both of those teams had, at least Memphis was most assuredly motivated, and Houston, at least I believe they came out.
Yeah, but they smacked them in the first half when they were motivated.
That's what I mean, is that I think they came out like, okay, we're gonna show the league what's what, and then it went poorly. Like, we didn't care anyway. We don't care anyway. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
The other thing I think that's going on with the Nuggets right now is sort of an injection of creativity. And Adelman has even said, like, look, man, if I do come back and I get a full summer, I'm going to get real creative with this team. And that kind of gets me excited that the team could build whole new systems in. But when Josh Kroenke, when he was talking today and he was talking about the vision for the future, he said, we have to be open-minded on all fronts. Mm-hmm. And that one stood out to me. It was part of the value speech, but part of this is also, part of the schism was Cal looked at the CBA and said, we're not going to be able to get a bunch of veterans. We can get young players, and we're going to have to build them. And I think Michael Malone, for some personal reasons, but maybe even some philosophical ones, was young players don't win, no. And I think what Josh Kroenke is saying, we have to be creative. We have to, on all fronts. If it means we have to go down this road, we have to do it. And I think David Adelman is going to bring some creativity, and already has, that the team feels. The team felt stale.
God bless.
I feel it coming. I can feel it coming.
I was like, wow, he's really loading up for a big point here.
But now there's an injection of creativity that I think the team feels and is, hopefully exciting as you go into a playoffs.
Yeah, I would think so. It should be exciting. I mean, I think one of the change is a very uncomfortable thing when you embrace it. The excitement of what's on the table can be a very motivating thing, right?
Life is all about perspective
and change. And change can change when you weren't ready for it or don't want it. It can just be devastating. But when you come out on the other side, there's this sense of, man, anything's on the table now. Yeah, and I think like in the specific ways you were just mentioning, but also just in this, I think for a month it was, I'm going to go to work and it's going to suck today. And right now it's, I'm going to go to work and who knows?
Yeah,
totally.
And I think that's a better place to be.
It's like the old saying. It's like when God fires a GM, he opens a side door. You know what I mean?
I like that. Quickly, unanswered questions. Murray's health. We're kind of loading up with like, they can do it. They can do it. We don't know how healthy Murray is.
He's got another week.
He's got another. I mean, of course, there's a runway here, but has he? Let's put it this way: the playoffs last 2.5 months long. He has not been healthy for 2.5 straight months in 2 years. So his health is like this.
That's a good when you put it like that.
When you put it like that, so his health is a big question. And then who will play? Is Westbrook playing every night? Is Peyton Watson? Is Pickett? Is DeAndre? Is
like
Julian?
Out.
Is Zeke might be completely out? So, but who will play? Even the Russ part of this, like some of the guys we thought were just penciled in, but I think Adelman is signaling, "Hey, man, Russ is great, and some nights it's 30 minutes, but I do wonder if some nights it's 8."
We're fixing to find out, fellas. Like Michael Malone had a very clear playoff strategy that came from his father and from all of his experience along the way, which is to have a very small playoff rotation.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that David Adelman will adopt that exact same philosophy. Like, I don't think it's unthinkable that in a place where you're talking about new creativity being brought in, that he won't look to maybe try to match up with whatever the other coach is doing that night. Like, perhaps it's not just like, it's going to be Westbrook. It's sort of like, wow, what's being given to us?
Just because it's directly germane. He spoke on this and he said, I will play the guys who are playing well. And he says, you look at these 2 games, some people mistakenly thought I was just going away from Russ. Pickett gave us our better chance of winning that night, so I went to Pickett. Yeah. Next night, went to Russ. Russ looked great. Closed with Russ. Lo and behold, he helped us win, right? So it is a willingness, I think, but I think it's less about Russ versus Pickett and just like, I mean, he benched Mike too, right? Like Who's
And
giving us
guys,
the best chance to win?
If you're watching this on our Fast channel, go
to the
online.
internet.
Go to the online. You'll find us there at various locations where we say swears like this
Well,
one.
right now, I think it is time for us to head into the Super Chats and see what the people had to say about us. What do you got for us, Super Chatters? Only 4? What's wrong with you
Calm
guys?
down, Adam.
What's
Jeez.
going on here?
Carrot Hammer. Can't time ending a relationship perfectly. Nuggets Nation will grieve, learn, show gratitude, and then move forward to the next era. Let's win this chip.
I will say, this is one of the cool things. Man, I'm dying every time I have to talk today.
No, maybe shut up.
One of the cool things about this little moment in time is I've heard this comment from a dozen people about, hey man, that little 2-hour live show, I needed that. It was cool. It was almost like the fan base circled the wagons.
Totally.
In a weird way. You know what I mean? The fan base came closer together. We're
That's
the
exactly
kids.
what happened.
The parents got a divorce and the kids kind of went out to the treehouse. And
They're like, oh, we got a bunch of Slim Jims. I got the Easy Cheese. I found a coupon for pizza. We're going to make it through this weekend.
Yep.
Hell or high water.
Do you want to see my baseball card?
Yeah, dude. We're doing a lemonade stand to raise funds.
Okay, let's move on. Jay Kerr, why wasn't Josh's value comment met with follow-up hard, direct questions? In on the record, financially accountable for Yoke's prime is needed.
I mean, I felt like a lot of questions were thrown at him that were put him on the spot, to be honest with you. I thought the media did a pretty good job. This was 25 minutes. I got 4 questions in, I think. But it is one that I definitely would like to follow up on. And we'll see. The proof will be in the pudding here. And by the way, I don't think when Josh said the value comment, he was signaling that he was not going to spend. That was my interpretation of what he said. And maybe like one he did not intend. You know, if he listens to this podcast, he might sit there and be like, oh, I didn't mean that. And it's like, I think you might have meant to indirectly, but he wasn't signaling he wasn't going to pay for people.
Macahru. If we get out of the first round with a hint of defense, we still have a chance. If not, Team Giannis for the next Nugget.
There you go, man. I will say, though, the value comment definitely didn't sound like we're going for Giannis. You know?
Wasn't he just talking about in terms of coach and GM?
Yeah. Well, it was really about, yes. Yeah.
I didn't hear it. So
I think it was more broad, but it was started with what it kind of. I think I asked it as like, there's lots of different types of GMs. There's some that and I think I led him to get value out of your assets. Some that are good scouts, some that are good leaders.
There's some that are good but cheap. There are some that are bad but expensive. Which way are you going to go?
So I might have actually led him into the value comment in a one,
So basically, Adam.
It's on our YouTube page. You can listen to the entire.
Everyone needs to hold Adam accountable for his questions.
Oh man,
and a 10 spot.
You know what? I actually got admonished for asking so many questions today. Because there's some days where it is true. You go out there. I don't own the media space, so I do have to share it, even if I feel that it's like, oh, you're here for the first time in 3 years, and I have to share it with you. It's annoying, but it's still the rule. But there are some days like today where I'm like, no, man, pass me the rock. I'm getting my shots up tonight.
Held accountable.
I stole the mic at one, but PR's looking at me like, again, dude? I was like, yeah, man, I got a bunch of questions. You want to you don't want to give me a Josh Kroenke one-on-one, I'll get all of them in there. But short of that, I'm going to fire him up.
Your next move, PR.
Walter Worthy checking in with a 10 spot. If Josh is looking for value, then you can't find better value than legs.
That's
plus
legs and Mares.
And Mares.
Mares.
Let's go, man.
Pronounced as if you're white.
Oh, I guess a show all NBA suggested.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's weird.
Legs immediately said that it would go down like Booth and Malone.
That was such a good
for sure.
That was such a good
just
clip,
a
dude.
fiery.
Legs was on fire.
He was like,
Adam immediately first day.
He's like, Adam's going to have probably too many of his guys. He's going to want to make too many trades.
So freaking
I love
hilarious.
a lot of ideas, Adam.
Yeah,
has.
a lot of ideas. I'd be down in his office every day like, I just thought you could have played Pickett a little more than a second.
I just love the third person. All NBA suggested it. Like,
I mean,
just like a different guy.
It came up on the show.
Hey, it came up on a very popular show, so I just think we need to
happened.
mention it.
You guys should check out The Presser, though, up on our YouTube channel. We always have The Pressers up there. We go to great lengths to make sure that you guys have those as quickly as possible because, it's cool for us to break it down, but it's also cool for you to go and hear it from the horse's mouth.
That's right. You don't have to hear Adam's biased-ass opinion about whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Just listen to the billionaire say it himself.
Guess what? Tomorrow, I'm not sure if there's a show or not yet tomorrow, but we will have shows Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then, of course, Saturday. Right now, I'm telling you, get to the DNVR Bar. Oh, go to the game, but if not, get to the DNVR Bar because Saturday, 1:30 tip-off.
here's
There's
another thing.
nothing like the DNVR bar for a playoff game.
No, and here's an important point to mention is that we are, because of the way that's all works, you can buy admission $10 ahead of time to assure yourself a place in the bar.
Which you should do.
We just need to make sure that everyone's and then you can still show up on the day. You don't have to pre-register or anything to get it. But if you want to assure yourself a spot, we'll have an Eventbrite link that we'll post out throughout this week. But that's how we're trying to handle it this year, just because it is such an insane time.
But it's going to be an incredible time. There's no place on earth like it. And Miroslav will be here. Everybody, hit that like button on the way out.
Let's go.
We all silly like the mayor.